Beware, coward.
In today's top 5, we're going to discuss my top 5 asshole arcades. Number 5 on the list, the Jurassic Park arcade. Now, this arcade was one of the coolest things you could have seen as a kid, going into Chuck E. Cheese or going into Golfland. It had the huge setup to make it look like the Jurassic Park Jeep, and it had the two wielding guns. And also, I think it moved. Now, this arcade was hard. Within the first 5 minutes, you're thrown in front of a T-Rex, and the T-Rex keeps on chomping down on you, and it was a 50-cent game. You know how hard it was to get your parents to give you enough money for you to play the 50-cent games? You were counting that shit out wisely for what you wanted to play. And most of the time, you're going to only get 1 to 2 plays on that arcade console. And if you didn't have a player 2, you were screwed. You always needed 2 players to play this game. Otherwise, you're going to have no chance. The T-Rex is coming at you, and it just keeps coming and keeps coming. There's no way one player by himself could have taken out the T-Rex. Unless you had a bunch of quarters and you're putting them inside in both guns and you're using them at the same time against the T-Rex. Otherwise, there's no chance. Number 4 on the list, Marvel vs. Capcom 2. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 was one of those fighters that I loved going to the movie theater and playing. The movie theater was the only place that had it, and one local pizza place before it shut down. Marvel vs. Capcom 2 had everything that I loved. It had all the modern fighters at the time that were in games that I loved, such as Resident Evil, and then it had past fighters that I loved, like Mega Man. This game is hard as shit, especially when you get to the last boss. You could not get to the last boss on 1 play of quarters alone. You would have to have at least $10 worth of quarters to get there. This boss has 3 stages. As soon as you thought you beat one, boom, it hits you with a harder one, and your health never regenerates. So this is one of those games that will just beat you and beat you and beat you and beat you down, and you're feeding quarters and going, I gotta see the ending, I gotta see the ending. And unfortunately, the ending was never that great.
Open up for now.
Go and save the city.
Number 3 on the list, X-Men The Arcade by Konami. This game was really cool in Chuck E. Cheese. It had the really big board for about 4 people to play, and it had all your favorite X-Men. And they had these special abilities that you could go and run and kill all the bad guys on one screen when people were in trouble. But the enemies in this game were insanely brutal. They beat your character to a pulp, and this is one of those games where if you don't have a freaking cup full of tokens, there's no possible way that you're going to get farther than the 3rd stage. Especially if you're playing by yourself. If you're playing by yourself, you're probably going to get to the 2nd stage and be done. Even if you have 4 friends around, by the time you get to the Snow Queen, you're going to be done. None of you are going to have enough quarters to get to that last stage. Magneto is almost near impossible unless you had a bajillion lives to beat it. Number 2 on the list, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles arcade game by Konami. Again, this was another arcade game where it was a quarter muncher. It cashed in on everything that kids love, the Ninja Turtles and the cartoon. It mixed it all together, and you got to see everything that you loved in the cartoon. Get to save April, get to fight Rocksteady and Bebop. But unfortunately, all the enemy characters have unblockable moves. So every time you go to hit someone, sometimes your moves when you go to attack someone don't connect. It does this weird shield thing, and all of a sudden they beat the crap out of you about 3 times in a row. And if they get you in a corner, you're done until you have to put more quarters into play. The relentlessness of this arcade to let kids beat it is legendary. Ask anybody growing up in the early 90s or the late 80s, hey, you remember the Ninja Turtles arcade game? Oh yeah, I remember. It was, and it probably still is today, one of my most nostalgic arcade games, but also the one that I hate.
Beware, I live.
And the #1 asshole arcade is Sinistar. Now, if you've never heard of Sinistar, don't feel bad. It was one of those arcade cabinets that was very elusive and hard to find. It was made by Williams in 1982, and the plot of the game is you're a little spaceship that's mining for shit in space. That's it. Sounds fun enough. You go around, you shoot asteroids, and these little yellow pellets come out, and... But what's this? Boom! Yes. As you're mining for these pellets, there is this evil space station robot called Sinistar. And while you're mining, he's building himself, and he eats you if he gets all the way completed. These little orbs that you're mining for are actually weapons and missiles to destroy Sinistar. And every time you get more and more and more, you blow off pieces of Sinistar every time he tries to attack you. But you gotta be quick. Sinistar comes at you from every angle, and he's got this really maniacal laugh and things that he will say.
I am Sinistar. Beware, I live. Run, run, run. Beware, coward.
Now, if you think that you're gonna beat Sinistar and have some sort of easy time, guess again. You could get through the very first stage, probably with little hassle. There's little robots that are trying to steal your pellets so you can't destroy Sinistar, but once you destroy him the first round, there are a billion of these robots that come, and they start shooting you. And in Sinistar, it's a one-hit kill. Sinistar also rebuilds himself even if you blow chunks off of him. So he's constantly repairing himself the more you die, and he's always mocking you when you do. I have the game for the Super Nintendo. I set the life bar all the way at 99 lives, the most you could have. I never got past the second stage. I died about 40 times. 40, and that's not an exaggeration. This game is unforgiving in its difficulty level. When I was a kid, I thought Sinistar himself was a really cool looking character, and the stuff he said when I was a little kid, I was like, ooh, that's kind of scary. That's really cool. Kind of sounds like Vincent Price in House on Haunted Hill. That was my top 5 asshole arcades. If you guys liked the video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and let me know your top 5 asshole arcades you remember from when you were a kid. Alright guys, hope you enjoyed the video, and have a good night.
I hunger.